mainly people who watch my channel are conservative, so they tend to not really like my views on this subject, especially my man, Will You Teach Me? I mean, trust me, that man's been at my neck all week about this. But all right, let's get right into it, guys. Hey, man, tell me if I'm tripping. Tell me if I'm tripping, guys.
Hamas. Others have put the total figure at around 25,000, which begs the question, if after 18, 19 months now, you have been waging this ferocious war against 25, 26,000 terrorists, and you still haven't defeated them, your strategy is failing. How many children have you killed?
Pierce, Israel is not killing children. Israel is not killing children. Hamas is using them as human shields.
Israel is killing children every single day. And what you're trying to do is be very weaselly with your words.
No, I'm not.
The truth is, you are killing a lot of children. You would argue you're doing.
Why it's caused?
Hang on,
because
let me finish.
Hamas is using them as human shields, and you know that.
Let me finish my question to you.
I would just say, man, Israel definitely lost the public opinion on this one, because I'm like, look, Israel, here's a problem. You can go on X right now and look up videos of, dead Palestinian children all across Twitter, damn near all across the internet. I mean, the internet, the parts of the internet that let you show that type of gore. Now, tell me, where are the videos that isn't on, October 7th of, the Israelis? And I'm glad that there are no videos of Israeli children pretty much being buried under rubble, decapitated, body parts being held by parents who just can't handle their loss of their child being gone. Like, I'm glad that's not Israel, but I don't want it to be Palestinians. Like, I'm okay with y'all taking out Hamas. Like 25,000, if you need to take out 30, 40,000, I can get down with that. But the problem is, you can't give us a number on how much you've taken out, of how much Hamas you've taken out. Hopefully she can, though.
You are killing a lot of children on a daily basis. That is indisputable. My interesting question for you is, how come you know exactly how many Hamas terrorists you've killed, but you have no idea how many children you've killed? Several key points in the war on Hamas. Former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert has denied that Israel would kill civilians deliberately and denied the charge of war crimes. He now says this.
The statements made by Israeli cabinet ministers, the leading cabinet ministers, that say we should starve Gaza.
Damn.
What is it if not a war crime? I mean, how can a serious person representing the Israeli government can spell it out in such an explicit manner that we should starve Gaza, that there should be no supply of basic, fundamental humanitarian.
Because the idea is, if you feed Gaza, you feed Hamas. And we must starve Hamas. So, AKA, you want to starve Palestinians? Here's the thing. It's kind of like a scary logic we got going on here with my pro-Israel guys, right? Now, here's the thing. First, it started off on taking out Hamas, which we all agreed to. Now, my pro-Israeli guys, we all agreed that Hamas needs to be taken out, but we never agreed that Palestinians should be taken out with them. We never agreed on fusing Gazans and Palestinians and just painting them as the same people with the same ideology. No, we never agreed on that. But for some reason, you guys try to paint that, try to pretty much amalgamate the two, fuse them together, and then say, yeah, they're one and the same, and that's not true. So, yeah, we're with you on fighting Hamas. We're with you on exterminating Hamas. We're not with you on, combining Hamas and Palestinian, making them one. Like, there is a separation, and we can't let you run off of that ideology because, it sounds a bit genocidal, let's be honest.
Needs to a couple of millions people living there. They are terrorists that we need to fight, but this is not a war against Hamas. This looks more and more like a political war of the Israeli Prime Minister and the cabinet and the group of thugs which are now representing the Israeli government inside Israel and across the world are committing actions which can't be interpreted in any other way.
Well, Olmert also said, and I quote, the government of Israel is currently waging a war without purpose, without goals or clear planning, and with no chances of success. Meanwhile, Ehud Barak, another former prime minister and former IDF chief of staff, says the war is now purely for Netanyahu self-preservation. Yair Golan, an opposition voice and a former army deputy chief of staff, said Israel is, quotes, killing babies as a pastime, close quotes, and risks becoming a pariah state. These aren't radical Islamists or raging anti-Semites.
I mean, trust me, there's more sources that people don't even know about. There's a Now I'm gonna go ahead and find it for y'all, and I'm gonna post it one for y'all coming soon. I just gotta make sure I find it first. But because it was this one lady, it was the lady on Redacted that showed me it. But there is a form, or I guess this website that pretty much gives you stories about old Israeli, old IDF soldiers, right? And these IDF soldiers was pretty much just like spilling their heart out, talking about, I kind of regret what I was doing. We were offing Palestinian children for no reason. We didn't understand why. There was operations where I honestly did not understand the reason for what we were doing, but what they did know is that they were going to take out Palestinians. Yeah, there's literally a forum that's about old IDF soldiers that's pretty much talking about, the past atrocities that the Israeli government made them do or ordered them to do.
But patriotic Israelis who think their country is losing the plot. Today, Israel announced that they've eliminated Hamas's chief in Gaza, Mohammed Sinwar, the younger brother of Yahya Sinwar, the mastermind behind the deadly attacks on October the 7th. That was seen as a huge win by Israel as they looked to justify the continued fighting. But how many innocent Palestinians are losing their lives as a consequence? Overnight, we saw more shocking scenes in Gaza as thousands of Palestinians overran an aid site run by US and Israeli-backed group with the intention of taking control of food distribution away from the UN. Many experts believe that swathes of Gaza face imminent famine caused by an 11-week Israeli blockade, which is only now beginning to ease. How much longer can all this go on? Well, I'm joined by Israeli ambassador to the UK, Zippy Hotoveli. Ambassador, welcome back to Uncensored.
Good evening, Piers.
Incredibly damning comments from two former prime ministers of Israel and a former deputy chief of staff of the Israeli army. When you hear what they have to say, surely it gives you pause for thought, doesn't it?
It's so funny. It kind of makes sense why, like how back in the day, like there was always tensions between Israel and, Palestinians. Every time there was always like tensions, but they always kind of like calmed themselves down. And now I kind of see it was because of old Israeli leadership. And ever since the Benjamin Netanyahu regime, things have only gotten worse between, Israel and Palestine.
Well, it's quite obvious for someone like you that understands politics that those people are coming from the opposition. Their job, in their opinion, is to fight whatever the government is doing. I think it's very anti-patriotic not to support Israel's war when we are fighting the most justified war in the world against a terror group that committed the worst atrocities at the 7th of October. Just today, we remember 600 days that we still have 58 hostages in captivity. And I'm afraid to say, nowadays...
And I'm afraid to say that I don't think y'all care about them, to be quite honest. Because if you cared about them, then why are you bombing the Gaza relentlessly, knowing that the hostages are in there? Like, think about, I ain't gonna lie to you. If I had a relative that was a hostage in Gaza, I would be very angry. I'd be like, bro, what the fuck? Like, what are you doing bombing Gaza? You might accidentally hit my relative. Like, what are you doing? So the logic in this carpet bombing Gaza just don't stand, that. And it's a war crime to bomb certain areas in Gaza, which are hospitals. But yeah.
In Israel, you can't find even one leader that will say he's willing to live with Hamas on its doorstep. So if those people have any criticism, they should offer a plan how Hamas will be removed from the Gaza Strip, from controlling the doorstep of Israel, not committing the 7th of October again. I didn't get to hear that, not from European leaders that are criticizing Israel, and not from those opposition former leaders. So I must say that in the end of the day, Israel has a serious threat on its security. You will agree with that. No one wants to see people being massacred in their homes like we've seen at the 7th of October. And in order to do...
I mean, but sweetheart, I get it. Like I said, I don't approve or even have any agreements on what Hamas did. But yeah, they went in your house and they did all that. And what, you in return bombed their entire neighborhood? Like, I'm trying to low-key balance the scale here. how is it a balance of scale when you just like, oh yeah, they went in our cribs, but we just bombed their hospitals, schools, like everything that they need, power plants, all that good stuff. It's like, I don't know, sis. You got to sell that a little better.
That the aims of the war are still relevant. We want to bring back our hostages, and we want to make sure Hamas won't control the Gaza Strip. Every leader in the world, in the Western world, agrees on those two aims.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do agree that Gaza should not have any control in Palestine. Yeah, we do. But we never agreed that the Palestinian people and Hamas are the same people, so you should just bomb them indiscriminately. That's something we never agreed on. I wish you guys would have shared that with us when you went on your bombing campaign.
You and I have spoken regularly or on a number of occasions throughout this war. I've always said from the start, as you know, that Israel had an absolute right and indeed duty to its people to defend itself after those appalling attacks. And my position about that hasn't changed. But I also kept asking one question, which was, what is a proportionate response? And I've got to tell you that in the last few weeks, I have found the Israeli government strategy in Gaza.
And that is also my question. What is the proportionate response that, we can criticize Israel at? Because you can't just sit there and say we can't say nothing. And then you can't sit there and say, oh, well, the Palestinian people are guilty too. Like, whoa, like I said, that's genocidal language at that point, because you're pretty much saying, well, since we're trying to exterminate Hamas and you think that Hamas are all Palestinian people, well, then what are you saying then? Like, do I really need to put it together what you guys are kind of preaching for?
To be utterly disproportionate. And I'll explain to you why. When you launch a blockade for nearly 3 months to a population which already has seen much of their possessions, their land, their buildings, their homes decimated by bombardment after bombardment, when you say that you're going to launch a blockade on aid and food to a population where 50% are under 18, you are pursuing, it seems to me, as Ehud Olmert said, a policy of starvation towards, obviously, because of the nature of the population in Gaza, of a lot of children. And that is a war crime. I mean, what else do you call it?
I think when you look at the facts, and you should look at the facts,
really?
letting in 25,000 trucks with tons of aid, this is not a policy of starvation. Now, let me tell you what was Israel's policy from the beginning of the war. From the beginning of the war, we created a very clear distinction between the terrorists. We're talking about 50,000 people that embedded themselves in population, as you know.
Hold on. Y'all said at the beginning it was 25,000. Now y'all doubled it to 50,000. And hold on now. Because the numbers of people who have been totally killed, and I'm talking about Hamas and, civilians alike, is around like 50 to 100,000. So what, are you going to sit here and try to say that everybody, including the women and children, were Hamas? Like, is that really what you're going to try to get off on? Because, once the fog of war clears, all truth shall be revealed. So I really wonder what you're going to say once this war stops.
Just now, you just mentioned Mohammed Sinwar. He was found under a hospital, under the European hospital. He was hiding there because he knows exactly how the world reacts when Israel attacks hospitals. But those hospitals being abused and being used as a terror facilities. This is why Israel is allowed to operate there. Now, I'm going back to the policy of aid. In the last few days, as you know, Israel is launching a new program, a new mechanism to deliver aid because, unfortunately, and I'm saying that with a big pain, Hamas was looting the aid that all the world wanted to be let into Gaza. Now, everyone is interested that the population won't be...
So what, 50,000 people is eating for 2 million? Like, can you make that make sense, please?
Starving. We don't want to see pictures of children that don't have something to eat. We all share the same interest. But at the same time, if Hamas is looting the aid, then we are empowering the war machine. And according to the international law, no country in the world has obligation to feed the war machine of the enemy. And this would happen.
Wow. You're just making it make sense. Like, I hear you, but you're pretty much saying that all Palestinians are now Hamas, so you have no right to feed the war machine. It's like, okay, well, why don't you let in those humanitarian services that can, verify for themselves? Why don't you let in the journalists that can, verify for themselves?
In the last few months, this is why Israel had to change the mechanism. This is why American companies are involved. So we'll have a buffer. We won't have to see Israeli soldiers combating Hamas while they're trying to loot the aid. the whole procedure is much more
Well, why would you put Israeli soldiers there to distribute aid when you guys are the one bombing them? Like, don't you think that's gonna entice them to attack you guys after you just spent, I don't know, about good 2 years, unaliving their family and friends indiscriminately, all on the chase for Hamas. I do remember that.
effective. And just in the last few days, we saw Hamas putting barriers for the population not to receive this aid. This is the same Hamas that uses his own people as human shields. So we are talking about situation is very difficult, very complicated. Once Israel is fighting the Hamas,
I don't know about that. I mean, there's videos of the IDF using human shields, and that's Palestinians. So they got pictures of y'all, but you don't got pictures of them. Like, here's the thing, bro. Just show us a picture. Just show us a picture of some guy in a mosque holding up some kid as a shield. Or what? Is it it's in the building that they hide in and all that good stuff. Yeah, I don't think they're hiding behind children if you got to blow up an entire building and then say, oh, well, Hamas hides behind children. I'm like, hold on. How'd you even, we didn't even know there was children in that building until you blew it up and killed them. And then if you knew there were children in there, why didn't you do a surgical strike and put boots on the ground instead of just bombing the entire building? Like, if you care about children being, unalived. But if you don't care, then you're just going to do it and just say, well, Hamas is using kids as shields. Because, like, even if they were, you guys have enough troops, one of the strongest armies in the Middle East, to go in there and, well, shoot it out with them.
Hamas terrorists, we still want aid to get in. And the mechanism, I believe, that Israel is putting now forward is so much better than the one that, in the end of the day, is empowering Hamas.
The problem is that whilst you're saying all this and trying to justify it, you've got people like Smodrich coming out and making it absolutely crystal clear what the real plan is, which is to completely clean out Gaza of all the Palestinians and get them into, quotes, a third country. That is a form of genocide. It is the deliberate targeting of people based on ethnicity and displacing them from their homes and killing a lot of them in the process. I don't know what else you would call it. I've resisted.
And me too. And I ain't gonna lie, today I'm about to just run along. I'm just gonna run out the complete logic. I'm gonna run out the complete Israeli logic for you guys so we can just hear how crazy this sounds.
Using the word genocide about this. But when I watched what Mr. Smodrich was saying and studied the exact words that he said, it is very hard to reach any other conclusion than that he is waging a strategy of genocide and would like to cleanse, as he put it, the whole Gaza Strip of all the Palestinians. So you can try and dress up that blockade, which is what it was for 3 months, where we saw.
Yeah, on God, Israel, make up your mind. So, was it Hamas that committed October 7th, or was it all Palestinians? Like, let's be real here. Like, are we going after the ones who committed October 7th, or if now we just mix it over to all Palestinians, or now you're just going after all of them? Or was the Hamas attack now just your excuse to now have a reason to go after all Palestinians?
The starving children you say you're concerned about, but you've got Smodrich there actually laying bare the real plan, which is to get all the Palestinians out of Gaza. And that is a form of genocide, isn't it? What else do you call it?
Well, let's begin with the fact that if you listen to the British media, you get the assumption that Smotrich is the Israeli prime minister. Well, he's not. He's not the one who's forming the policy on aid. And the policy you just quoted is actually...
So is he a liar?
No, all I'm saying is that his policy, his
either he's
statements
lying or he's
are
telling
not.
the truth.
His statements are not standing in one line with Israel's policy. This is as a matter of fact.
How you know that?
Now, going back to
this man hold a higher position in Israel than you.
What you quoted basically President Trump's plan. And President Trump's plan is speaking about making Gaza a better place. Gaza will be a better place without having a terror hub, without having the underground tunnel city, without having people firing on Israeli cities. Just in the last 2 weeks, there were more rockets being fired from Gaza to Ashkelon, to some Israeli southern cities. We are not interested with any of that. And I just want to remind you, just in case you're so interested with finishing the war can finish today.
True.
If Hamas will surrender.
But Hamas, within 2 days, tried to give up all the hostages. And as long as, Israel didn't go into Gaza, Hamas was ready to give up the hostages. And you guys told them no. You went into Gaza anyway and started bombing them regardless of the fact that they had their hostages. Crazy.
If Hamas will make sure that no weapons in Gaza, if we'll see demilitarization of the Gaza Strip, and if our hostages are back home, the war will be ending today. I mean, just imagine that.
All right, but let me ask you though. But you accept that Israel has the strongest military in the Middle East, right? I am the proud owner of 2 cats, which are named after 2 Arsenal football legends. Unlike their owner, they are extremely demanding.
I mean, I like kittens. I mean, as soon as they grow up past a kitten, I don't even like them no more. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a cat person. I'm a dog person, really.
Population that been
Okay,
hit by
okay.
terror
No, no.
organization. Strong.
Free shipping at smalls.com.
We
2
have a
cats is
strong
crazy.
military, but very vulnerable population that been
Okay,
hit by
okay.
terror
No, no.
organization. We're
No,
a
I'm just
small
saying you have-
country. We're a small country that its border being invaded.
Fine. I just asked you a question as to whether you have the strongest military in the Middle East. You accept you do?
We do, but at the same time, we're a very vulnerable country when we're
Okay.
surrounded by radical Islamists.
But let's be honest, though. You sat there and you took Golem Heights, which is parts of Syria. That's how you pissed Syria off. And then you kind of been doing what you've been doing to Palestine for a while. So that ain't nothing new. Let's see here. I mean, you guys beef with Iran. I mean, you almost beef with every country in the Middle East, but Jordan. I mean, Jordan and Saudi Arabia. Yeah, I mean, y'all not beefing with everybody in the Middle East, but almost every country in the Middle East does not like the way that Israel is, well, treating Gaza or the Palestinians. That is just a consensus along the Middle East. Actually, even Osama bin Laden even said that, look, we don't even, and I'm paraphrasing, by the way, but Osama bin Laden said, look, it's not about y'all freedom. It's not about y'all way of life. It's not because you women can wear bikinis and all that. It's mainly about the fact that you guys are out here trying to, 1, control our way of life, and 2, because what you guys allow Israel to do to Palestine. That is literally the argument of Osama bin Laden and a lot of leaders back in the day in the Middle East. But we just ignored that, and then we framed it to our people as if, oh, no, they just hate our way of life, guys.
Yes,
including backed up
I'm
by
not here
Iran
to defend
that
radical
wants to
Islamists
destroy Israel.
I'm not here to defend that. I'm not here to defend Hamas, who I think a despicable terror organization. But you said there were 50,000 Hamas. Others have put the total figure at around 25,000, which begs the question, if after 18, 19 months now, you have been waging this ferocious war against 25, 26,000 terrorists, and you still haven't defeated them, you still can't get your hostages released, they're still not being released, it's clear to most people that your strategy is failing. And what you're doing is ramping up the attacks, ramping up the devastation, ramping up the clearing out of Gaza. You've got members of the cabinet openly saying they want to get rid of all the Palestinians and get them into another country. It seems to everybody else that what you're actually doing is not winning any war against Hamas. In fact, many people think, including intelligence that the Americans have received, for every Hamas terrorist you've killed, they've already been replaced multiple times with people with the same ideology.
Yeah.
And that would explain why you can't get the hostages out. And
and here's the thing. Let's run down that logic, guys, because this is why Israel's framing it as, oh, well, now they're trying to fuse Hamas as all Palestinians, because that's why. If you understand that logic, and I want you guys to, I don't know, have some perspective here, right? Let's pretend it's you, okay? So let's pretend that there is a radical group of people who just don't like a certain country, but you don't have no affiliation with them or anything. You just chilling, right? Now, one day, this country that these guys, this group of people are so radicalized that you don't even agree with, come bombing everything you know, like everywhere you know, people you love, friends, family alike, don't matter. People are dying left and right. And it's the people that this radical group has been carrying on about for years, going like, oh, these guys. And now it's these guys that this group has been talking about that's been the one that's responsible for, well, the reason why your house is gone, your family and friends are dead, is that very group that these guys have been talking about. What do you think that you're going to do? I'm just saying, just have some perspective here. Just imagine a little bit. What would you do? Because I'm going to tell you what most people would do. They'd be like, oh, well, these guys had a point. I guess they were right all along, and maybe I should join the cause. Like I said, I'm not agreeing with what Hamas did, but I am trying to put myself in the mindset of these people who have committed this. And I'm kind of hearing what they're saying when they're like, yeah, you're just creating more of them. Because, yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. I mean, it would be the same way in America if this was ever go down in such a way. Actually, it did. When 9/11 happened, we all galvanized against a certain country. So we understand the sentiment.
fact, the hostages, the more you bombard Gaza, the more you would say that their own lives become imperiled. And the overriding picture, which is what's getting Israel so much opprobrium around the world, is that your strategy isn't working. There's no clear plan for what happens at the end of all this. Hamas is still clearly alive and well and thriving. Yes, you've killed another one of their leaders today, but you killed his brother, who was the architect of October the 7th, months ago, and that didn't seem to make any difference to Hamas's ability to continue engaging in battle with you. And the argument remains, how many Palestinian civilian innocent lives, women and in particular children, are you prepared to kill as you continue going after Hamas when it doesn't appear?
Next thing you know, they're going to start saying the women and the children are in the mosque. Everybody got to go. Like what? What is the next thing y'all going to say to make this excusable?
That you're winning that battle, that strategy is failing.
Pierce, how many Japanese children were killed under American attacks, and how many German children?
Hold on, that's not a good point, sweetheart. That is not a good point, because we did not bomb the Japanese twice and just say, you know what? Let's just take them all out. F it. Actually, not only that, but we're going to take Japan and then continue to nuke Japan. Yo, you can't, because that's literally what you guys are doing, except with missiles and not nukes. Thank God. Thank God, by the way.
Were killed under UK attacks in the Second World War. Listen, I mean, if you want to play a fair game, you need to understand how Western armies operated.
If you want to play a fair game, that would be the fair game. If you want to bring up us bombing Japan, the fair game would be, all right, well, if we're taking your strategy, then we're just going to go ahead and take Japan and then continue nuking them until there's nobody left.
The past. Israel is not anywhere near to the American
attack. And then say they're all Nazis. Yeah, that's what we'd have done if we were you guys.
In Tokyo that killed 100,000 civilians, and not anywhere near to what the UK was doing in the Second World War. Now, when I'm looking about a strategy, I get to hear all the people criticize Israel.
Even then, the goal wasn't to exterminate all of them. The goal was to exterminate the Nazis. And even then, we didn't even kill all of them, or the goal wasn't to kill all of them. You understand that, right?
Today, including yourself. And then I'm asking,
like, am I tripping, guys? Am I tripping? Because I know I'm going to catch a lot of heat for this later.
You this question: if Israel finishes the war today and Hamas stays on our doorstep, what kind of future do you promise my children? A future that 7th of October will happen? And
bro, the Zionists would lose their minds, bro. They would literally be urging us to like nuke like Russia. They would literally urge us to do that
again and again, just like Hamas leaders promised. This is what you expect the Israelis or the Israeli leadership to accept?
Hamas should not be allowed to run a Welk stall at the end of all this. They should
how do you achieve that? How do you achieve that?
Well, you don't kill all the Palestinians. I mean, come on now. Can we be real? That's not how you do it. How y'all doing it? You're like, oh, how you get rid of Hamas? Well, shit. Let me throw an idea out there. Maybe you guys actually go down there onto the floor and actually make some to see what the hell they want at a certain point. Because what, like any enemy we went after, even the Nazis, we ain't kill all of them. I mean, Ayatollah, Taliban, we went in there and we hit them, but we ain't went in there with the operation to, oh, let's just kill all of them. So, because at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, we kind of got to work out some type of deal with the force that is fighting us, like we are now, to get the hostages back. So here's the thing. I mean, don't y'all want to get y'all hostages back? So don't y'all kind of need Hamas to do that? Or else they're just to be lost in Gaza somewhere?
Who's volunteering there to demilitarize the Gaza Strip?
With respect, Ambassador, you clearly don't achieve it with the way that you're trying to achieve it. All you're achieving at the moment is making Israel more and more of a global pariah. When only a few days ago, you have 2 doctors in Gaza who have 10 children, and 9 of them are killed in a bombardment by your forces. That doesn't make people feel, oh, this is all going great. It makes people think that you're waging a systematic destruction, not just of property and of land, but also of children. And that's what's happening. The percentage of children that you're killing compared to the percentage of you're killing of Hamas terrorists, what is it? Do you know? Do you know how many children you've killed? Well, hang on. Answer me that one question. Do you know how many Hamas terrorists you've killed and how many children you've killed?
I
You know
know
there's two numbers.
I know the numbers that came from the IDF.
Straight out asked her, yeah, okay, well, how much Hamas have you killed and how much you think you created?
I know the numbers that came from a very, very established
Give me the
think
two
tank.
numbers. Give me the
Wait a
two
second.
numbers.
Wait a second. We killed
Give me the two
30,000.
numbers.
We killed 30,000 terrorists in phase 1 of the war. Since the war is back, I don't have the numbers.
So in the beginning of this, they said 25,000. Now they're saying there's 50,000, aka we've created 25,000 more Hamas members through our relentless bombing of Gaza. Pretty much.
But let me tell you one thing.
And how many children have you killed?
Or maybe, let me give them the benefit of the doubt, or maybe it was always 50,000. You know, benefit of the doubt.
Never target civilians. So this question is irrelevant.
How many children have you killed?
Pierce, Israel is not killing children. Israel is not killing children. Hamas is using them as human
killing
shields.
Children every single day.
Pierce, this is a blood label.
And here's the thing, though. Like, when you guys say Hamas is hiding behind children, that's your excuse to bomb an entire building. Like, you guys have yet to show us Hamas holding up with children with an AK-47 firing, like, you know, or Hamas having children on trucks and all that, like, I mean, like Israel did. But yeah, can you please just show us and shut us the fuck up, please? Like, just show us the proof and vindicate yourselves, because at this point it just seems like y'all saying this to have an excuse to bomb buildings you're not supposed to, like schools, hospitals, etc.
You're putting on Israel. You know it's not true.
What? No, it's not actually. And what you're trying to do is be very weaselly with your words.
No, I'm not.
The truth is, you are killing a lot of children. You would argue you're doing.
Why it's caused?
Hang on, let me finish.
Hamas is using them as human shields, and you know that.
Let me finish my question to you. You are killing a lot of children on a daily basis. That is indisputable. My interesting question for you is, how come you know exactly how many Hamas terrorists you've killed, but you have no idea how many children you've killed?
Pierce, I will give you the answer, because when you're accusing a country of killing children, it sounds to all the people that are listening to us as if Israel wakes up in the morning and says, "Ooh, let's kill."
No, not Israel. No. We're not putting this on all Israelis, because there's Israelis that disagree with what the Israeli government is allowing or commanding the IDF to do. So no, let's leave all Israelis out of this. Let's leave all Jewish people out of this, and let's just focus on the Benjamin Netanyahu government and the IDF. Okay, those two alone. That's all we're talking about. Those two group of people. Don't group all the rest of the Jews or the Israelis into this.
Let's kill innocent people now. This is not what Israel is doing.
But you are killing a lot of children. And my question is, how come you know how many terrorists you've killed?
Are you familiar with the international law? Are you familiar with that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I am. I know I am, because international law, especially war law, says you can't bomb a hospital. But y'all done that about 3 times.
Because the international humanitarian law says very clearly, as long as you're targeting civilian targets, you're allowed to attack hospitals if you know they're terrorists. No, but you're not answering my question. Israel is not deliberately killing children. And this accusation is a fake thing that you keep on saying again and again.
No, if you can confirm that the hospital is being used as a terrorist cell and nothing more, then you can go ahead and bomb that hospital. Like, if that hospital is only being used as a terrorist cell and you can confirm that, then yes. But no, when you bomb the hospital, you kill doctors, nurses, children, and adults, and like adults alike. So, I mean, yeah, that argument was kind of like, you know, or that story that you was telling to bomb those hospitals wasn't true. Or maybe it was halfway true.
You know, we're a democratic country, cares about human life.
I just asked you a simple question.
At the same time, Hamas is deliberately using the children as human shields. And you know that.
I don't deny anything you say about Hamas. They're everything you say they are, probably worse. I despise Hamas. They are a despicable terrorist organization.
So help us win this war if you're so...
No, whoa. Like I said, I hate Hamas too. Nobody likes Hamas. Nobody. But what we also don't like is the indiscriminate unaliving of women and children. Actually, I'd say, and I'm not gonna lie, I would say I hate that more than I hate Hamas. I'm sorry. I don't know if that don't make me anti-Semitic. I know that though. But I can't sit there and say, yeah, I ain't gonna lie, I'm a bit of a humanitarian, and I just don't like seeing women and children being bombed. Now, I'm all for terrorists getting taken down, and I do understand there's gonna be civilian casualties. But when you're doing it like this, it kind of sounds like you don't care about civilian casualties.
Despising Hamas.
You're
offering to surrender. You're not offering.
And also, well, Hamas is also bringing their injured and also those who also been injured by Israeli bombing to those hospitals. So that's also a reason why Hamas would be around the hospital. You got to remember that.
So I'm asking you. I'm asking you this question for a purpose. I'm curious why you say you know exactly how many Hamas terrorists have been killed, but you have no idea how many children have been killed. Why is it you know one number but not the other?
I'll give you the answer. Because in the end of the day, we never target civilians. We only target the terrorists.
Why don't you know the statistics?
And you can ask this question.
Are you saying no children have been killed in Gaza?
I didn't say that.
Are you saying that?
I didn't say that.
What are you
saying?
Said. Well, what are you saying?
Pierce, what I'm saying is Hamas
How
needs
many
to
have
be
been
blamed.
Killed?
Hamas needs to be
How many
blamed
have
for
been
any
killed?
child that is being killed in Gaza. Now, if you want to go into this propaganda of Israel is doing this and
It's
that,
not propaganda. I'm
you
asking
know,
you why you know how many terrorists you've killed, but you don't know how many children you've killed in the process.
I have
why
an
don't
answer
you know
because
that?
we targeted those terrorists and we never targeted any civilians. That's the answer, and this is why
you know that
we
many thousands of civilians, but you know many thousands of civilians have been killed. You understand
Pierce,
that?
do you understand that you don't care about my children
and
other Israeli children?
And you know, it's so crazy. Like Pierce has to do this, and I respect Pierce for what he's doing right now. He's like, dog, excuse me, but he's like, dog, I've been defending Israel this entire time, and yes, Pierce has been defending Israel the entire time. So I can understand where he's just like, dog, I've been defending y'all for a minute now, and y'all have not relented. Y'all have not shown me any proof that this is excusable. At this point, there has to be an accountability moment. Like, yeah, I'm not even going to lie. If you can't show me any proof of this, any video, you guys are honestly doing what the world is telling us you're doing. You guys got to fight in Israel. I'm telling you, you got to find a way to defend yourselves. And I'll say the Benjamin Netanyahu regime. Like the Israeli people, there's people in here who don't agree. So there's people thinking right about this. But then there's people in America. Like I'd also ask you guys as well, like, what do you guys want with this? And then, like, when did we start dehumanizing people?
By letting 7th of October happen again and again.
I do. In fact, to my detriment, actually, in the Middle East for many, many months, when I was defending Israel's right to defend itself. But now we're at a point where more and more civilians are getting killed in collateral damage as you wage a war and a strategy and a plan which makes no sense to even your own former prime ministers who think you're committing war crimes. So don't just couch all this as propaganda by people who just... Well, okay, but again, I simply ask you one more time. Why is it you know how many Hamas terrorists you've killed, but you don't know how many children you've killed? Why is that?
As I said again, because in the end of the day, when you're accusing someone in killing,
you don't count one, but you count the other?
You accuse someone in doing something deliberately, while Israel is not doing it deliberately. Can I accuse the UK of killing German children during the war? You would have said it's absurd.
Stop playing whataboutery.
I'd have said, well, yeah, they were trying to take out the Nazis. They understood there was going to be civilian casualties. But guess what? They didn't say, you know what? Even the German kids, the civilians are all Nazi. We're just going to take them all out. That was never the UK's, like, go at it. Like us. Like, we went in there to take out the Taliban. We went out there to take out Al-Qaeda. But the goal was never to just take out the people that's, like, lives among them, or to even take out all of the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. We got to work with them in some way. The goal was to make them submit, not to exterminate them.
It's absurd.
Explain why you know one number, but you don't know the other.
I mean, putting our foot on their neck and just crushing their neck is two different things.
PIQ.
The answer for that is very clear. Hamas is putting a lot of propaganda into it. And Hamas is trying to create fake news.
How do you know how many of those?
I will give you another example for that. I will give you another example just from last week. Just from last week, I think we all experienced this, I think, one of the most shameful moments in the UN history when Tom Fletcher was throwing a number of 14,000 babies are about to die. And in the end of the day,
he got it completely wrong and was wrong.
The BBC had to correct that. And this is part of the propaganda that Hamas is promoting.
Yes.
And I don't want Western media to follow up on Hamas propaganda.
Well, yeah, here's the thing, though. And this is what scares me. Because, like, and this is what I always say, this is what scares me about Israel. It's like, are we ever going to hear the other side? Or are you just going to exterminate the other side? Like, are we ever going to hear from the Palestinians what really went down and what they experienced? Are we ever going to get to sit down with a Hamas official or somebody at Hamas day one and be like, yo, this is what went down? Like, are we ever going to hear the story from the other side, or you're just going to exterminate them all?
I didn't.
It's very simple.
So you're talking to a member of the Western media, and I didn't do anything with that report.
No, but the BBC did, and then they had to
I'm not
take
the
it back.
BBC. I'm not the BBC, and they were wrong. And he has now retracted it. He explained that actually he misread it. It was if the blockade went on for the whole year. We all know the reality. It was a mistake.
Yes, but
he shouldn't have
for
done
a
it.
day, it was the headline in all Western media accusing Israel in fake things.
Fine.
So we need to fight that. We need to find the fake things that are happening out there.
I don't want to find any fake things.
No. You guys need to fight that. You're right. You guys do need to fight that by providing proof. Give me proof of an Hamas soldier holding kids on a string. So show me something that these guys are using kids as human shields. Please and thank you. And if you could show that, I will shut the fuck up. I promise you, I will shut the fuck up. I won't even talk about Hamas, Israel. I won't even talk about it no more. Actually, I'll probably be the most pro-Israel guy. I'll damn near turn Zionist. Just show me proof.
Because I want to get to some facts. You seem to have a very clear idea, Israel, of how many Hamas terrorists you've killed. You've said the number, but you have absolutely no idea how many children have died in the process. I simply ask you why. Why do the lives of the Hamas terrorists get recorded,
listen to me.
but you don't record the number of children you
I'm
killed?
willing here to give you the strategy about the war, because this was the question you were asking.
Why don't you answer my question?
I'm giving you only the answers that I have.
Just tell me why you know one number and not the other.
But the number makes a difference just if you're targeting civilians.
Easy. A surgical strike. I go into school. We have a gunfight with Hamas. There'll be some civilian casualties, but I don't have to bomb the entire school, risking every civilian in there. There you go.
Civilians. If Israel is not targeting civilians, according to the international law,
it doesn't make any difference to the number of children who've died.
It does
you can couch it any way you
difference
like.
according to the international humanitarian
law. How do you know about
law?
the number of terrorists killed, but you don't know how many children have been killed?
And I'm saying
how
again,
do you know one, not the other? Explain to me. Treat me like a village idiot. Why is it that you know one number, but you don't know the other?
According to the international humanitarian law, it makes a lot of difference if you're targeting civilians.
We're funding this, and that's the only reason why we care. And that's the only reason why we honestly care, because we're funding this, and this makes us look bad on the world stage. Israel, like, can you guys chill? Like I said, we're all for taking down Hamas. We're all for Israel being where it's at, but you guys got to chill and decide where you're taking this. And hopefully you're taking this in the humanitarian direction where you start caring about civilian lives. Hopefully.
Of your targeting,
I'm not talking about who you're targeting.
Legitimate war aims.
I'm not talking about who you're targeting. I'm not saying you're deliberately targeting the children who've been killed.
Very good. So that's the only thing that we are discussing here.
No, it's not. Because you know how many terrorists you've killed, you say, but you have no idea how many children. Because those are the people we targeted. So how many children have died in the process? Why don't you know that number too?
Piers, please ask this question to the people that can give you the answer. I don't have the answer.
Who has the answer?
It's funny because she actually said she was going to give the answer in the beginning.
Please don't ask me questions.
Who has the answer? Who has the answer?
I don't have the answer. And I will tell you something.
You're the Israeli ambassador to my country. Who else should I ask?
Well, you should ask one question. How do you make sure that the 7th of October won't be repeated? And this is the question you and everyone who criticizes Israel at the moment doesn't have the answer to. And again,
here's a question.
We are not denying the fact that war is a bad thing, but we never wanted this war.
Why don't you let international journalists into Gaza so they can report fairly and freely without being led around by the IDF? Let the journalists in because you ban them. And the only reason you continue to ban international journalists from going in there is not because of our safety, as you also quaintly put it. It's because you don't want the Western journalists to get in there and see what's really happening. Only you know why. Only the Israeli government knows why you want to continue banning journalists from international media organizations coming in at their own risk assessment and actually working out whether anything you're saying is true or not. And it may be if you let the international journalists in, well, let me just finish. It may be if you let them in, then they wouldn't just count the number of terrorists who are being killed. They'd be also able to record how many children are being killed, because it strikes me as utterly extraordinary that you, as the ambassador to my country, are able to say with complete clarity and certainty 30,000 Hamas have been killed, but you seem to have absolutely no idea how many children have died in the process. No idea. or you have
Pierce.
no interest. I don't know which one it is.
Pierce, let me go back to your question about the journalists. I think in the end of the day,
Let them in.
we are coming to the point where journalists will be allowed to get into Gaza as long as there is no risk for them. And you know
It's got nothing to do with you, the risk to journalists. It's not your problem.
From my point of
You don't have
view,
to. It's
from
not
my
your
point of view,
problem.
once there is no risk to their life, I'm sure
Oh, what
they'll
a
be
load
allowed
of
to get in.
flannel, Ambassador. Don't treat us like idiots, please. We're not idiots. You're not doing it for our safety. You've banned the
Pierce.
journalists so that they don't report on what is actually happening. Only you know why you're doing that. I don't know. Maybe you're doing everything completely fairly. Maybe it is the most moral war ever waged in history, as you keep saying. But the longer it goes on without you allowing journalists in, the less people believe that, and the more people believe you have something to hide.
Pierce, there is just one question here, never received an answer. How do you promise to the Israelis that they won't have 7th of October being repeated again? If everyone agrees that Hamas shouldn't control the Gaza Strip, as you just said, who will do the job? Who will volunteer to demilitarize the Gaza Strip according to your philosophy?
Here's the thing, though. You don't bomb them out of existence. Like, I get your point. And it is a tough question. Like, who's going to lead the Palestinians? Well, look, obviously you done displaced Hamas. Obviously you done reduced their numbers. So maybe if you sat down with them and discussed something, maybe they can get something across. I don't know. But here's the thing. There is no negotiation being done with Hamas between, them and Israel, only on the grounds of like hostages, no ceasefire or anything. So I would ask them, I'm like, how would you guys come to that when you don't even talk about a ceasefire? You don't even talk about peace after. Like, you guys are just dead set on, taking over Gaza. So I would ask her, like, well, how would you even come to that when that's not your goal?
Why don't you work? Here's my suggestion. Why don't you work harder on the diplomatic side to resolve this conflict, this war? And why don't you bring in all the people that can help resolve that rather than continuing to blow everything up that you can?
I mean, exactly. I mean, there's ways we can get in there and, find a group of people who we can trust to run it. I'm pretty sure there's some pro-Israel groups in Gaza, of course. There's many groups of people who live in Gaza. I mean, Christians, Muslims, we can get the Christians in Gaza to run it. Why not? It may not be so Christian now.
With your forces, why don't you try and resolve things diplomatically, which in the end is how you got the other hostages out to date. So, it seems to me the bombardment strategy just doesn't work. And all you're doing is making Israel, a country, by the way, that I love, and I love Jewish people. It's got nothing to do with either the country or the people, but everything to do with the Israeli government, which has now got people like Smotrich out there very clearly, very brazenly, and
I'm telling you, I hate the tactic of how they try to group them all in together as if we're speaking against all Jews, all Israelis, when we're not. We're just speaking against the actions of, the Benjamin Netanyahu regime and the orders that they're giving the IDF. That's all we're speaking up on. That's it. Nothing else.
Unambiguously dictating a term of genocide on the Palestinian people where he wants them all out of Gaza. Now, do you think that's a good idea? Do you think that's the solution?
I'm not speaking for Bezalel Smotrich. I'm not his spokesperson. I'm the Israeli ambassador.
What do you think?
And I think whatever the government thinks, because I'm ambassador, I'm representing